Hi, I'm Ian Messenger with my co-host Lauren Blackford.
Hey there.
Thanks for joining us for this special episode of Small Business Small Talk powered by Hibu. At Hibu, we're dedicated to helping local businesses across America succeed and grow. And a great way to do that is to hear firsthand stories of how actual businesses have used digital marketing to be profitable, even in tough times. Today, we've invited Lucas Underwood, owner of L&N Auto Repair in North Carolina, to speak with us about how digital marketing has worked for him in the auto industry. Hey, Lucas.
Good morning, good
Okay.
afternoon, good evening, wherever you are.
Yeah, who knows?
That's exactly right.
Well, it's good to talk to you today. Thank you for taking the time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and we're gonna just have kind of a wide-ranging conversation here about digital marketing and specific to the automotive industry, and more specifically your firsthand experience with marketing your business. And I know you've got a lot of irons in the fire out there,
Yeah,
including a podcast where you talk about some of these things. So
absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah, to get started, if you could just tell us a little bit about kind of how you came to the industry and where you are today, that would be great.
Of course, my name's Lucas Underwood. I'm with L&N Performance Automotive Repair in Blowing Rock, North Carolina. I opened this business in 2007, and I tell folks all the time it was started with an addiction. And they say, was it drugs? Was it alcohol? No, it was actually an addiction for a diesel truck, a fast diesel truck. And it turns out those things are expensive, and you got to come up with a way to pay for them. And we started as a performance business. And so we started in 2007. And we've kind of grown from there. And around 2011, I had a little girl, and she became my whole world. And all of a sudden, I realized, hey, I'm not being the dad I want to be. Right. Like I wasn't at home like I should have been at home. I was wholly focused on the business. The business wasn't as profitable or successful as it should have been. So I've been on about a 6 or 7 year journey now to improve the business. It took me some time to find myself and find out where I was in there. And so since then, I've become a member of a group called ASOG or ASOG, Auto Shop Owners Group on Facebook. I became involved with local organizations like ASTA here in North Carolina that are just for shop owners. And I realized there was a lot of stuff that I didn't know. Right. I was a technician. I wasn't a shop owner. I wasn't a business owner. So I never recognized what I didn't know. And so we started the podcast. It's the ASOG podcast, and we hope to share our story and share some information and stuff from other folks that help shop owners kind of get a leg up until they can get in that training or coaching program that helps them improve their business, much like my business has improved.
That's great. That's so you've really kind of touched on, you went from the enthusiast to the
Yep.
technician to the kind of.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
it. The whole way. And you know what they don't tell you is the technician fixes the cars, the service advisor communicates with the client, the owner cleans the toilets. They left that part completely out of the manual. They didn't put that anywhere. And so, the reality is the owner does a little bit of everything. And my transition has really been from working in the business to working
Hmm.
on the business.
Yeah, which is great. It's always nice to know folks who have kind of touched all parts and
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
yeah, yeah.
And I feel like it's a very relatable story because a lot of
Mhm.
business owners have families and they're spending so much time trying to build their business because they're doing it alone. And, you wanting to spend time with your daughter and therefore figuring out how to grow your business while still having time with her, I think is a very common issue that people are having. So how did you get started in digital marketing?
So basically, I got started, right? The business was not performing like it should have been performing. And it's very interesting because when I started realizing I needed more clients and I needed better clients, right? So we oftentimes we talk about marketing and we seem to think it's about getting more clients. And in my opinion, it's not about getting more clients, it's about getting the right clients
Mhm.
and making sure we're hitting our target audience and the people that we need in our business. And so I was really afraid of that. Believe
Hmm.
it or not, I was terrified to get out there and start doing the things like Google My Business and start doing the things like the Facebook post and the Instagram post and putting myself out there. And I've talked to a lot of business owners since then who have a very similar response. Yeah, but what if somebody says something bad about me? What if
Hmm.
something and so it took a little bit to overcome that. And really where I started was Google My Business. As crazy as that sounds, I started making posts and I started asking for reviews. And that was really the beginning of my digital marketing experience. And all of a sudden I started seeing that folks weren't saying something bad, right? There was the occasional bad review. And then I realized that a lot of those weren't even real reviews. They weren't even people who had been here. And so today we've got, I want to say we're close to 400 reviews and we're at a 4.9. And then we branched into Facebook, right? And we started making posts on Facebook. And there again, we found a couple Facebook trolls here and there, but it wasn't anything that couldn't be handled.
Right.
And then we branched into Instagram, and slowly but surely we started making more and more efforts to do marketing online, because we realized that's where the majority of the clients we wanted are at today.
Right. Yeah. And that's where they're starting, their journey is they're going,
Absolutely.
hey, I need something done. I'm going to, pull out my phone, look
Yes.
for it. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's interesting that, you kind of talk about that evolution of, dipping a toe in, then another toe. Cause I think
Right.
one of the things that, a lot of times when we talk to small businesses, the ones that we work with anyway, being an owner, as you know, is a full-time job and
It
a
is.
half. And that's if you
Yes.
don't have a family at home,
Absolutely.
and a lot of the
Absolutely.
folks that we talk to, just the idea of marketing their business is just that. It's an idea. Yeah, I probably should.
Yeah.
So it's always interesting to talk to folks like yourself who have, gone from that idea stage into,
Mhm.
I'm going to try it. Ooh, that kind of worked. That scratched an itch. I'm going to try a little more.
Right.
I'm going to try something different.
You're exactly right. And here's the thing is there's a lot of owners, I think the general public looks at a business owner and they say, man, I wish I had all that money. I wish I had all that time. I wish I could take off whenever I wanted to. And that's just not realistic.
Right.
But there's a pathway to attain that. There's a pathway to get there. And marketing is a very, very critical piece of that pathway. It's a critical stepping stone that we have to take on. And you're right. A business owner already has so much on their plate. They already have so much going on, especially because it's not just doing marketing, right?
Right. Oh
We,
yeah. Yeah.
we talk about it all the time. It's something we call spaghetti marketing. We take a handful of noodles and throw it at the wall to see which ones stick.
Hmm.
Right. So we spend a ton of money, thousands and thousands of dollars, or we don't spend enough. We spend $50 here and $50 there. And we say, oh, it's not working. And the thing is that we didn't take the time to learn to be proficient in marketing. And that is a killer of any marketing strategy right there, and so that's my first message to a business owner. If you choose to do this yourself, you've got to do some research. You've got to learn and understand what works and what doesn't work.
Right. And that's the huge, kind of hurdle that we try to help our clients overcome is certainly not to put anyone down, but knowing what all is on your plate. You've got to
Right.
worry about staffing. You've got to worry about, supply trucks coming in. You got to worry about who knows what on any given day. You
Yes.
probably don't have time to also wear the marketing hat.
Well,
Or, if you're doing it, you're not doing it very often or many hours per week. And that's really where a kind of full service solution like ours comes in, where we'll take care of that part.
Exactly. Well, Ian, let's use an analogy that a business owner might understand. If you're in an auto repair shop and I take you outside as one of my clients and I lift the hood of your car and I say, hey, Ian, can you point out your exhaust gas recirculation valve? Do you think you could find it?
I would point, but I'd be wrong.
my point is that as a auto repair professional, I know that's crazy to ask you to do that. And I would ask anybody looking at marketing, put yourself in your consumer shoes and say, would I expect them to know that?
Right.
And the reality is no, you wouldn't expect them to know that. You wouldn't expect them to know the intricacies of your profession. Right.
Sure.
So a lot of times, even though it seems like a lot of money, it feels like a lot of money. And I'm not saying I don't encourage people to do their own marketing, but I think that dollar for dollar, we talk about return on investment. I think you're better off hiring someone than you are investing that kind of dollar. Now, if you don't have the capital to invest, right? In the automotive world, we talk about a number between 5 and 8%, a maximum of 10% of gross revenues of sales into marketing. And if you are not in a situation where you're running the business, you know how it works financially, you know what your gross numbers are, you know what your gross profit is, and you know what your net profit is, you're probably not in a situation where you can comfortably or safely do that. So I understand having to do it yourself, but dollar for dollar, you're way better off paying somebody else to do it.
Sure. Sure. Even just, for nothing, for no other reason, just to
Yep.
avoid the hassle,
Absolutely.
because it's very easy for, if you're trying to do it yourself
Yeah.
and you've got an issue that day or that week, all of a sudden,
Yes.
those Facebook ads you were going to run, those, whatever you were going to do, it's, what, that's a next week problem
That's
because
it.
so-and-so
That's it.
called out, or
Yep.
this
Well,
part didn't show up and I got an angry customer. I'm not going to deal with marketing today. And that becomes a
and
week or 2 weeks.
so you probably look at a lot of Facebook or Google ads, or look at a lot of Google review responses. And the one thing that I've seen over and over again is an owner does something that you don't do. They insert themselves into it personally. They insert their emotion into it. And so, especially when it comes to things like review responses, I don't know how many owners that are friends of mine I've had to call and say, hey, man, change that review response. Right? Like, this is not about what they did or what I was sitting in a class. Long story short, when I started improving my business in 2011, 2012, I went to my wife one night and I said, I'm done with this. The stress is too much. I'm not making any money. I could go get a job as a technician and make more. I'm going to go train to be the best technician that I can be. And so there I went. I'll go home, tell her this. And she said, well, that's really interesting. There's this card that came in the mail and it was for an event called ASTE in Cary, North Carolina. They still have it to this day. And I walked through the door of this event and the executive director at this event is standing there. His name was Bob Pulverini. And he says, you're Lucas Underwood. And I'm like, okay. I've never been to an industry event. Right. And I guess I had a uniform shirt on or something. And he picked it out and he said, I've got a question for you. And I said, what's that? He said, I see you're taking all technical classes, but you're the business owner. And I said, yes, Mr. Pulverini. The reason being is because, I'm going to close the business down. It's too stressful. I'm not making enough money. I don't want to do this anymore. And he said, would you humor me? Now, the executive director of a show like that says that to you. What do you say? You say yes, right? Especially when you're in an unfamiliar place and you don't know anybody. And he puts me in 2 classes, and the first one was with Malin Newton. And Malin Newton is talking about customer service, and he's talking about a story of the customer service he got in Disney. And he says something, and he says it near the beginning of the class, and I just kept going over this in my head over and over again. And he said, customer service has nothing to do with how you feel about the client. It's how the client feels about you. Oh, hadn't thought of it that way. Crap. And then right after that, I go into a class by a man named Rick White, and Rick said, listen, I know the business is really stressful. I know you've got a lot going on. I know you're not making the money you should be. Give me 10 minutes. I can help you. There's a system we can make that better. And so I think that through education, we can go a long way. We can get somewhere with digital marketing. We can get somewhere with conventional marketing, but it takes knowledge. It takes time. It takes the focus on making your business better. We can't just continue to focus on fixing the car. We can't continue to focus on just the day-to-day grind because it never improves, right? You can fix all the cars in the world and still not have any money. It's not the point of a business. The point of a business is to be profitable. And I think business owners look at profit like it's a 4-letter word. They're afraid of it. Being profitable is not bad. It's how you serve your client better. Sorry, I know that was an off marketing rant. But
No, not at all. Not at all.
Great. I love that. I want to go back and talk about your initial fear for getting on Google and Facebook, because it's an interesting thing that's come up with a lot of our clients, is this fear of people saying something bad. We've had so much of a focus on reviews in the industry, which is very important.
Right.
But we've actually seen a lot of studies come up that say that businesses with like a 4.5 to 4.9 rating get more clients than a 5.0, because a 5.0 rating looks like it's fake, because people know that there are those trolls or people out there that are going to not have a 5-star experience. And so it's very interesting to hear that that's what you were afraid of, but that's the exact thing the industry is saying is okay.
Right.
It's
Absolutely.
better to have some negative reviews than to have all 5-star reviews.
It really is. And I've got clients who have told me I will not leave a 5-star review. And I've had clients who I've called and said, hey man, you gave me a 4-star review. He said, Lucas, because your 5-star was making you look worse than a 4.5 or a 4.9 would. Right. And I asked, and he's like, man, he's like, nobody believes that. It just seems unreal. It seems unrealistic. You've got all these reviews. They're all 5-star. And look, I lay awake at night thinking about those reviews, and my phone will buzz. I'm like, oh man, I don't want to look at that. I want to be able to sleep tonight. And the reality is if we think we're going to make everyone happy, we're being ridiculous. Right. It's not going to happen. And I think it's a fallacy if we tell ourselves we're going to make it happen, but it puts a lot of undue stress on business owners, because that's our goal. That's what we want. You know, I grew up in a family business that had been here since the 40s, and they saw anywhere between about 20 people a day up to 5,200 people a day. And my parents spoke to each and every one of them.
Mhm.
Right. And my dad was very adamant about what he said, how he said it, what he said to them, when he said it to them. And that was part of the reputation that they had. But in the same respect, he kind of eventually got to the point that, son, it's okay. Right. Like if they're not 100% happy, we're just not the place for them. It's okay. It doesn't mean that I'm any less valuable or more valuable. But I see, and more so in repair shops, I think I see more repair shops who take that extremely personally.
Hmm.
They get upset, they get online and they make a response, and the response is either derogatory or aggressive, right? And now all of a sudden you've made this aggressive response. Other clients see the way you responded. All you did was hurt yourself.
Yeah.
But, you know, when we talk about the fear of getting on there and doing it and making these posts, if you're not putting yourself out there, you're missing a whole chunk of the market. And secondly, I think that when we put ourselves out there like that, we're asking for feedback. And if we truly want to optimize our business, if we want to optimize our marketing, if we want to optimize each point of our business and make it the best it can be, we have to hear the bad feedback too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we
Yeah.
can stem it. We can slow it down. There's companies that do follow up. We send back feedback messages. Hey, is everything okay? We can slow down bad reviews. And if we've got a bunch of them, there's probably something we need to fix.
And it definitely shows when you respond to a negative review with understanding and learning and whatnot, and it's out there in the public, unlike what your friends were doing. It shows potential customers that if there's something wrong, you're going to make it right.
Absolutely. You know, in automotive repair, one of the biggest complaints that we hear from clients, and we talk to clients all over the country, we've done surveys, the whole 9 yards through our groups. One of the biggest complaints that we hear is they were not receptive to my concerns after something happened.
Sure.
Right. Show them I'm receptive to you. I'm willing to listen. If we screwed up, I'm willing to say, hey, it was me. How many times have you heard about somebody going to a repair shop and the shop says, oh, that doesn't have anything to do with what we did? I don't care whose fault it is. Take responsibility of the situation and say, hey, I want to make this the best I can make it.
Well, that I think you just touched on something too, that just by nature of responding, hopefully not aggressively,
Exactly.
but that's important, because how many times have you seen a place where they've got reviews, good, bad, or otherwise, and you see no responses, and it makes you think as a consumer,
awful.
like, I don't think I'm going to be able to get a hold of these people.
Exactly. They never respond. They don't say thank you. They don't
Right.
say anything at all. It's just nothing.
Yep.
And the same goes for many of these Facebook groups. I implore business owners to use Facebook groups and Facebook community pages appropriately, right? You're messing with the devil in those groups. You got to be really careful. But just yesterday, somebody posted a response from a business owner. He was a restaurant owner, and folks were talking bad about the restaurant in the group. And he came back out and he posted and he said, we made some mistakes, and it was Mother's Day, and the staff wasn't comfortable with the menu. I did not recognize it. I didn't see what we were doing wrong until it was too late. I'm going to give everybody a gift card. Here you go. I just want to say sorry to everybody. We definitely missed the ball this time. And so those people who were speaking negatively, do you know what they did? They turned their commentary around and they're like, man, that's stand up that you would do that.
Yeah. Right. All of a sudden they were apologizing.
Exactly. And so this is your opportunity as a business owner to shine above the rest of the crowd and show why you're elite, why you're listening to podcasts like this, right? Why you're growing, why you're researching and learning. This gives you that opportunity to be the best of the best.
You're listening to Small Business Small Talk, powered by Hibu. Hibu is the country's leading provider of synchronized digital marketing for small businesses, delivering more visibility, more visitors, more leads, and more customers. Visit us today at hibu.com, Hibu, hibu.com.
And we're back with Lucas Underwood talking about digital marketing and the auto industry.
So let me ask you this, just kind of changing course. We've talked about reviews, we've talked about Facebook. I mean, as within your own business or your circle of colleagues, what are you seeing as kind of the trends in terms of like what are business owners in your industry doing for digital marketing?
Right. So there's a multitude. I see about 45% of our consumers that come in our shop are seeing a Google ad when they search, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're in an area that Yelp is not as popular.
Mm-hmm.
So we're seeing primarily Google responses. We do a very, very aggressive capture of how did you hear about us? What did the ad say? Right. So we can distinguish between ad to ad. And we really aggressively track. So we have multiple tracking numbers. We can see where they're coming from. And so I would say 45% is coming from an actual Google ad. And then the folks that are actually searching us are finding us. Now, obviously, I think that you have brake repair on your website and it drives your SEO up. So that does make a difference. But I think right now for us, we look at the website as really a point of contact after they've learned about you. Google Ads is definitely kind of at the cream of the crop. That's where most shop owners are going right now. They're starting with Google Ads. Facebook is more of a branding tool for us, right? And there again, I see this in a lot of shops. They're creating reels, they're creating videos, they're putting information out here just so folks know them, feel comfortable with them. Their existing clients can keep up with them and see what's happening in the facility. So it's more of a brand tool. And then the ads for the folks who aren't following you yet. So you have Facebook and Instagram ads. Those are the two big pushes right now. Otherwise, I think that there is a little bit of a market for Bing and Yelp, but I think that is a case by case basis on where you're at. I can pull clients from Yelp, but it's a 10-to-1 from what we get from Google. So those are really primarily what shop owners are using right now. Organic marketing is king. So videos, things like that are really what they're responding the best to when you're talking about a repair shop.
I'll tell you what's really interesting to me about what you said is the fact that you're keeping track. Because I know that's, one of the, and it ties into what you said earlier too, that someone may try, I got $500, I'm going to run some ads, and they go, oh, they didn't work. And we'll hear that occasionally from.
Exactly. And then they just stop.
Right. And we'll hear that from clients. They'll go, oh, well, this didn't work. And you go and you look at their reporting and you're like, this did great. You got this many clicks, this many calls, this many form fills. And it's just, I think that's a unique challenge to small business owners, that it's very hard to see that return on investment sometimes.
It really can be. And so the two things that I will say with that is, with the advent of VoIP, or voice over IP telephone systems, we have tons of reporting. With Google, I hate to tell you folks, nobody knows your dang telephone number anyway. When was like I barely know my wife's telephone number. It's saved in my phone.
Right. It's wife. That's what
exactly.
It is. Yeah.
I mean, come on. Nobody knows telephone numbers. We're not memorizing telephone numbers. We have too much going on. We Google it, we search it somewhere. And so using tracking numbers really makes that easy, especially with VoIP, because now all of a sudden we can have multiple telephone numbers. I can report on each one. I can see length of call. I can go back and cross-reference its file to my shop management software and say, did that client come in? Did they not come in? And secondly, I think it's really important to mention that I think shop owners and maybe the general business public got burned a little bit. And the reason being is we saw a lot of companies, and there are still some out here who would say, hey, we're getting you all this return. These clients were coming in. We look at all these thousands of dollars we generated. We can attribute this to this repair order, or this to this client. And then you would start to look at the numbers and you say, well, Miss Smith's been coming here for 10 years. Why is she in? Well, she called one of our numbers. Okay. So it takes some work from the business owner, even once you hire a professional to look at this, to know. You have to put the legwork in. I think it's really, really easy for us to want to put everything on autopilot, and the business is crazy and it's hard to keep up with. You got a lot of fires to put out anyway, and you want to do the things you want to do in the business. And marketing is not always necessarily fun, and verifying that those people were called. That is part of your responsibility as a business owner, right? It's your job to track it and find out if your marketing is effective. No one can do that but you.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of the mental hurdle of, talking to any small business owner who, wants to get more business or wants to get more return business. And they're looking at marketing as the way to do that, is getting them to kind of think of it as it's overhead.
Right.
Just like you've got payroll and you've got, you go out and you
Exactly.
buy your coffee filters every week. Like, marketing is a cost of doing business. It's an investment.
It is. But you know why that is? And I've learned this. I've been amazed. And I was guilty of this too, right? Like, I was complaining about my business and I didn't like how it was running and it was terrible and I wasn't making any money. And somebody said, "Well, where's your clean P&L?" My clean P&L? What are you talking about? I'm not talking about the one you give the accountant. I'm talking about where your numbers are. Well, I'm not running any tax schemes or anything like that. No, I'm saying if that's all you have, you don't have enough data. Oh, crud. What do you mean I don't have enough data? And so then you begin to learn about operating a business, and you get a clean P&L. And by that, I mean, everything's broken out into the proper categories, and you have accounts where you can truly monitor, and then you can compare to your peers. Right. And there's industry standards in marketing for auto repair. Like I said, 5 to 8%, 10% maximum. If you're trying to drive a new facility, trying to fill a new facility up, if you're not tracking it, you don't know. You can't see the return on investment. If you knew the number of shop owners who don't even know what they spend on anything, let alone marketing, and they're like, "I'm not getting anything back for this." Dude, you spent $50 and you got 5 clients. How do you know that? Well, it's right here. If you go back and find the check you had for the marketing company, and these people said that marketing company brought them. Oh, I never thought about doing that. I thought it was common sense. I thought we were just supposed to do that, but, and we had a conversation in the group the other day. A lot of us who have excelled, right? Like, just like you guys have excelled in marketing, you look back at the people who aren't doing it right and you say, "Gosh, why are you doing that?" In some ways, we've left behind those who help us improve the image of our industries as a whole, because we're not going back and saying, "Hey, we don't do that like that anymore. Here's the best process. Here's the best protocol." And that's what our groups are really about. That's what our podcast is about. Let's bring them with us. Let's not leave them back there. We were once there. He's new. Let's show him how to do this.
No, that's great. That's great.
And I love how you mentioned previously, Facebook is for branding. This is for that. This is for that. And that's some of that know-how that I think a lot of business owners don't understand. They're just going to throw some money at a Facebook ad or on a Google listing. They're not understanding what that is for. And every aspect of digital marketing, as you said, has a specific purpose, either to drive leads or create awareness or get in your local area to promote brand awareness. So it's an interesting piece of education that I think a lot of business owners don't dive into, is what is this piece of marketing and why am I doing it?
Right. You're absolutely right. And I think that's where I see the biggest struggles come from when it comes to marketing. And being able to diversify, what am I trying to accomplish in each one of these platforms? And the 5 keys to copywriting, like, if you're going to do this yourself, you need to understand how to write copy. And one of the biggest things that I found, and we talk about this from time to time, it's uncomfortable for some people. Some people have a natural innate ability, and some people can gain that ability, but copywriting can be hard if you're not well-versed in writing and speaking and reading, right? I've learned that the best way to learn to write copy is read a lot of copy. And I love to read, so it works for me. But I see so many people out here trying to write their own copy that don't understand how copy works. They don't understand how to convey what they're trying to accomplish to their client. There's no call to action. There's no salt in the wound, right? There's no explanation of what you're trying to convey to your consumer. And so that's one of the big things that I see is they go out and they put an ad and it says AC special today only, $89.95. Where hey, my kids are hot in the back of the car. You've been driving for 2 hours. You've got to get the AC fixed, but you don't have the cash today. We're running a special. You know what I mean? And so I think that we find ourselves trying to rush this process. We try and push through it We don't give it the time it deserves. We're busy. We don't want to spend 10 hours or 20 hours a week working on marketing. If it's going to be effective, you've got to.
Yeah. And I think that's what we find a lot, or the kind of the position we find a lot of our clients in when they come to us is,
Right.
hey, I got a billboard and it didn't work. And it's like,
It
that's
didn't.
sure, or it drove a couple people in, and that's about it. And
Right.
it's getting them to understand that, today it's a much more diversified. You've got to have a presence here, you've got to have an ad there, and you've got to have a different ad here. And this ad is just about brand awareness. It's not about the $89 AC special. And,
Right.
once you kind of tell that story, it starts to paint that picture of it's an always on thing, and it takes
Exactly.
a lot of moving parts and a whole village behind those moving parts to make it, to keep all those lights on and to keep them working together.
Right.
And that's a challenge if you're,
It
a
is.
business owner.
It is downright overwhelming.
Mhm.
It's that much of a challenge. And one of the things that we see a lot of folks do is and I was in a training class on marketing a while back, and they brought this up, and it's interesting. You sit through training classes on marketing and you watch the shop owner eyes just glaze over, right? There's nothing there. And they're like, yeah, but what about that API and this API, and why listen, this is outside your wheelhouse. This isn't, it's outside my wheelhouse. I'm only going to find out if the person writing my marketing is doing a good job. I don't know how to do this. But he brought up a really valid point in this class. If I don't know what everyone else in your marketing portfolio is doing, if we're not in alignment, we're all working towards the same goal, and there's a special over here for that, and a special over here for this, and a special, your staff gets overwhelmed, right? And so, especially if we're doing it ourselves, it's very quickly something that can snowball out of control. So it's important that you know what you're doing.
Yeah. And I think when it snowballs out of control, a lot of times the response, the very natural response, is just, I'm out. Like, know what? I'm going to try marketing next season.
Turn them off.
Yep.
Right. All I got to do is click the off button. It's off. It's good.
That's right. I just have to stop paying that check, and then, I can worry about something else.
Exactly. And I think that clients need to, or repair shops especially, need to understand that there is client attrition. You're not going to reinvent the wheel. You're not going to do something that other people haven't tried. Clients are going to die. Clients are going to move. Clients are going to buy new cars. You always need more clients. And they say, oh, I've never done any advertising. I've never done any marketing. And you know what that says to me? You weren't very efficient in your shop. You weren't doing the revenue you should have been doing. Because if your shop is performing like it's supposed to perform, you are going to always need more cars. The point is growth. And we don't want to be consistently sitting in the same spot we were. And I think a lot of shop owners, they don't realize their shop's potential. When I started trying to fix my business, we were doing $14,000 a month in 2 bays. And today we're doing $125,000 a month in the same 2 bays with basically the same size staff. And it was because I didn't realize what my potential was.
Yeah.
And I hate to tell you, you're not going to make $125,000 a month without some client attrition you got to deal with and bringing new clients in. It's not going to happen.
Lucas, thanks again for joining us today, sharing what you've experienced, and helping us in our goal to help shop owners like you across the country. And to all of you listening, if you need help with digital marketing for your auto shop or any local business, if you need a digital marketing partner who can deliver the kind of effective digital marketing we talked about today, helping you with visibility on Google, with reviews, and more, be sure to visit us at hibu.com. If you liked what you heard on this episode, be sure to subscribe, and please leave us a review if you can. Once again, this is Small Business Small Talk out.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Small Business Small Talk, powered by Hibu. Hibu is a leading provider of synchronized digital marketing for small businesses across America. With Hibu, you get all the digital marketing your business needs, all from a single provider, all working together to maximize results. Visit us today at hibu.com, Hibu, hibu.com.